Today, we're going to break down a football match that really had no business being a contest. You've got a team with huge aspirations going up against a team just staring down the barrel of relegation. But sometimes in football, the script just gets completely torn up. This is the story of how a single deflected shot sent absolute shockwaves through the Premier League, and how a team with nothing to lose found a way to win everything. So, let's get into it. So, the narrative heading into this one was, well, it was basically written in bold ink. On one side, you have Liverpool, this red machine just humming with confidence from a 3-game winning streak. Their sights are locked on that glittering prize of the Champions League. And then you have Wolves, stranded at the very bottom of the table, clinging to a thread of hope so thin you could barely see it. This wasn't just a football match, it was a collision of two totally different worlds. So yeah, let's really unpack that, this tale of two fortunes, because the chasm between these two clubs set the stage for one of the most dramatic finishes of the entire season. And here is where the story gets really, really wild. Just look at these numbers. Liverpool, sitting pretty up there in 5th place with 48 points. They're breathing right down the necks of the top 4. And then you have to scroll and scroll all the way down to the very bottom. And there you find Wolves with a paltry 16 points. That is a 32-point gap. I mean, in what universe is this supposed to be a fair fight? On paper, this is a slaughter. But football isn't played on paper, is it? So let's move to the game itself and see how this all unfolded. Because for most of the match, it played out exactly like you think. You had Liverpool, this irresistible force, just laying siege to the Wolves' goal. But they met a surprisingly immovable object. This right here, this captures the first hour of the match perfectly. It was a siege. Liverpool had all the possession. They were basically camped out in Wolves' half, but it was like they were just throwing themselves against a brick wall. Wolves were a fortress, a perfectly drilled defensive unit that just refused to be breached. They were totally fine letting Liverpool have the ball, knowing that any of these long-range shots would be easy pickings for their keeper. It was a masterclass in defensive resilience, and for Liverpool, it was just utterly infuriating. And that frustration was just building and building and building. And then it boiled over into one single unbelievable moment. A moment where they absolutely had to score. Can you even imagine that? From a yard out, a single yard, he chests the ball onto the crossbar. It is the kind of miss that makes you question everything. A moment of horrible, horrible luck for Liverpool, but for Wolves, wow, it must have felt like a sign from above. A sign that maybe, just maybe, today was going to be their day. And you know, after surviving that scare, after bending but not breaking, suddenly the whole narrative of the game just shifted. The armor of this giant, which had looked so impenetrable, suddenly showed a tiny, improbable crack. Okay, so 78 minutes are on the clock. The stadium is just a cauldron of noise and tension. It's still 0-0. Liverpool have battered the Wolves' goal for the entire match, but they haven't found a way through. And then, just when it looks like this whole thing is heading for a goalless draw, the unthinkable happens. It all starts so simply. Just a hopeful long ball, right? More of a clearance than a real pass. But suddenly, Tolu Arakoderi outmuscles one of the best defenders in the world, Virgil van Dijk. He plays it through to Rodrigo Gomes, who looks up, sees the keeper flying out, and with incredible composure, just dinks it perfectly over him. A moment of pure, clinical, out-of-nowhere brilliance. And here's the crucial point. That goal, that moment of brilliance, it came from Wolves' very first shot of the entire match. After 78 minutes of just defending for their lives, with their first real attack, they score. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. But of course, you can never, ever count a team like Liverpool out. Scoring that goal didn't win the game for Wolves. It just woke up the giant. And the response? Well, it felt immediate and almost inevitable. And of course, it had to be him. Mohamed Salah, the Egyptian king, the man who had been carrying the weight of a 122-day goal drought on his shoulders. The whispers were getting louder, the critics were circling. But in Liverpool's darkest hour, their talisman delivered. It was a goal that was about so much more than just tying the score. It was a release of pressure, a statement, and a huge reminder of his enduring class. And just look how quickly this all unfolds. At 78 minutes, the home crowd is in absolute dreamland. Just 5 minutes later, at 83 minutes, Salah pounces on a stray pass and completely silences them. In the space of 300 seconds, we've gone from a historic upset to, well, business as usual. The game's tied, and all the momentum is now with Liverpool. But this story had one last twist left, the most unbelievable one of them all. We are now in the dying seconds, deep into stoppage time. Liverpool are pushing. They're desperate for a winner to save their top four hopes. But they got careless. 90 minutes plus 4, the 4th minute of added time. This is it, the last roll of the dice. A Liverpool attack breaks down, and the ball is cleared out. So Wolves midfielder André picks up the ball, he drives forward, he shoots from distance, and in a moment of pure, gut-wrenching football fate, his strike takes a wicked deflection off a Liverpool defender. The keeper, Alisson, he's completely wrong-footed. He can only watch as the ball just trickles into the back of the net. Unbelievable. And the impact of that one single lucky deflected shot is just, it's massive. It was André's very first goal of the entire season. It gave rock-bottom Wolves back-to-back wins for the first time in nearly 2 years. And for Liverpool, a devastating, devastating blow, plunging their entire season's main objective into serious, serious doubt. And so, after all that chaos, all that drama, and all that heartbreak, this is how it ended. A simple bar chart that tells a story of 1,000 emotions. Wolverhampton 2, Liverpool 1. An impossible result secured at the death. It really leaves you with a fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? We saw skill, we saw defiance, but in the end, the deciding factor was a deflected shot. It makes you wonder, right? How much of an entire season comes down to strategy and talent, and how much is just decided by a single, cruel, or maybe even glorious moment of pure luck?